Have you ever heard of a place that seems to hold on to its memories? A house that doesn't just shelter people, but changes them. Today we're going to Brooksville, Indiana, to a quiet corner shaded by tall maples, where a house stands unlike any other. 214 Riverbend Street. To most it's just an address, but for those who live there, it was the beginning of the end. It began on a quiet street in a small town where time seemed to slow. Locals called it the Turner House, though the name was more of a whisper, a half-forgotten legend. The house saw many owners, each leaving in ways the town could never forget. Some moved away in silence, others were carried out. Our story picks up in the summer of 2002, when the Wagners, Mark, Emily, and their 5-year-old daughter Lily, moved in. They were looking for a fresh start, and this house, with its wide porch and affordable price, felt like a dream. The realtor called it charming. Emily called it home. But from the very first day, something felt off. It wasn't just the faint, constant smell of old wood and rainwater, or the way the pipes moaned at night. It was a feeling, a presence. Emily would swear she heard footsteps upstairs, but no one was there. Mark would laugh it off. "Old house sounds," he'd say, "just settling in." But the house never settled. A month later, things took a darker turn. Emily found Lily sitting in the hallway, her eyes fixed on the empty stairs. "What are you doing, honey?" she asked. Lily's reply sent a chill down her spine. "The man's back," she whispered. "The one who stands at the bottom of the stairs. He says he used to live here." Emily tried to dismiss it as a child's imagination, but that night she couldn't sleep. Every creak of the old wood made her heart race. Soon after, the house went cold, a heavy, bone-chilling cold that the thermostat couldn't touch. Even Mark noticed. Then came the knocking. Always 3 sharp knocks, always at 2:14 in the morning. Mark would check the porch every time, but it was always empty, the street silent. By October, the happy family was gone. Emily's laughter had vanished. Mark started drinking again, and little Lily barely spoke. One night, Emily woke to find her daughter standing by her bed. "He told me something," Lily whispered, her eyes wide. "The man downstairs, he said you shouldn't go in the basement." The next day, Emily asked Mark to check the basement. Annoyed but curious, he went down with a flashlight. The air was damp and colder than anywhere else. Behind the furnace, under a loose floor tile, he found a small wooden box. Inside were faded photos, an old wedding ring, and a blood-stained letter dated 1974. It read, "Forgive me, Helen. I couldn't stop what happened. The house wants what it wants." There was no signature. A few weeks later, a neighbor called 911. She'd seen Emily standing barefoot in the rain at 3 a.m., staring at the river behind the house, whispering something no one could understand. Emily was hospitalized for what doctors called psychotic depression, but she insisted the house was to blame. While recovering, she dove into old property records, and what she found was horrifying. In 1974, the original owner, Harold Turner, had murdered his wife, Helen, in that very basement. He vanished the same night, and his crime was buried with time. The Wagners tried to escape. They packed their bags, listed the house for sale, but they weren't fast enough. On a stormy November night, Mark was found dead at the bottom of the basement stairs. The coroner ruled it an accident. Emily knew better. She and Lily left town without a word, and the house at 214 Riverbend stood empty once more. For years, the house waited. In 2011, Daniel and Grace Parker moved in. He was a cop, she was a nurse. They'd heard the stories but weren't afraid. "We deal with worse," Daniel said. "It's just a house." For a few months, he was right. But then, the silence became unbearable. Grace heard tapping in the walls, then faint whispers, like voices through water. Daniel dismissed it as exhaustion, until he started hearing it too. While cleaning the basement, he found a rusted nail box hidden behind a panel. Inside were cassette tapes, each labeled with a year, 1972, 1973, 1974. He played one. Fragments of conversations, laughter, crying, and then a calm, deliberate man's voice. "The house needs balance. The house takes what it's owed." Shaken, Daniel gave the tapes to a friend at the police precinct. A week later, that friend was dead. A car crash on Riverbend Street. Grace left. The tapes vanished. The case went cold again. Over the next decade, the house cycled through 6 more owners. Each family had a story. The Morales family lost their son in the river. A single mother, Janet Doyle, reported her daughter's imaginary friend, Harold, before she vanished one morning, leaving breakfast still warm on the table. No case was ever solved. No connection was ever proven. But they all mentioned one thing: the knocking, 3 times. At 2:14 a.m. in 2022, a new kind of resident arrived. Lauren Mitchell, a documentary filmmaker obsessed with true crime and haunted places. "I'm not scared of stories," she told an interviewer. "I'm scared of not knowing the truth." Her plan was to live in the house for 6 months and record everything. For the first few weeks, she even laughed about it online. Then she went to the basement. She noticed a section of the far wall where the paint was darker. When she pressed against it, the drywall cracked open, revealing a hidden room. Inside was a small chair, a table, and names carved into the plaster. Helen, Emily, Grace, Lily. And beneath them, a single word: mine. Lauren's flashlight beam caught something on the floor. A tape recorder with a tape marked 2022. She pressed play. Static. Then a voice. "Welcome home, Lauren." Her camera caught her gasp, her shaking hands. That footage, uploaded automatically to her cloud, was the last anyone saw of her. Lauren Mitchell was never seen again. The house was sealed. The tapes, all of them, reappeared, stacked neatly on the basement floor. The last one, Lauren's tape, ended with a single knock, then silence. The official report called it an unexplained disappearance. But the story isn't over. Months later, the Johnsons bought the house. They renovated everything, determined to erase the past. On their first night, the clock stopped at 2:14. The next morning, they found a small wooden box under the new floorboards. A note was taped to the top: "Do not open, ever." The husband laughed and pried it open. Inside was an old photo of a man smiling in front of the house. On the back, an inscription read, "The house remembers us all." Today, the property is fenced and boarded up. The locals don't speak of it. But sometimes, on a quiet night, a light flickers in an upper window. Maybe it's just the wind. Or maybe the house is still choosing. Because on Riverbend Street, the past never leaves. It just waits for someone new to open the door. Thanks for joining me on this chilling journey. What do you think is happening at 214 Riverbend Street? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next investigation. Stay safe out there.